My guests are Deirdre Reddick and Leigh Martins, and we're talking about intimate partner violence. Thank you for coming in. This is an important subject. And this time of year is when we start to hear about it. And it's been in the news fairly recently. Fill me in on what's going on.
Well, we've been doing a lot of things in Kingston over the past year with the Kingston City Council declaring IPV an epidemic, for sure. But this time of year, especially starting on November 25th, well, then we do start having more of a social media outlook, because November 25th is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women worldwide.
And that's, yes, and this is international. And
yes.
That's, are some countries worse than other countries for this?
Possibly. I don't really like thinking of it that way, because it is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And
okay.
it's an epidemic everywhere, right?
Fair enough.
So I don't really think of it as that it's worse in one area or the other. I do know from the UN publishing in the past year, in 2023, they indicated that every 10 minutes there's a woman or girl that's murdered by either a family member or a partner.
Right.
Across the world.
Across the world.
Across the world.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's how often? Every
10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes.
In 2023.
That is sobering statistic.
It is.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the intimate partner. It could be the family of or is it just based on the fact that they're women? It's
yeah, so it's violence against women,
okay.
And like intimate partner violence can be either like an intimate partner that we think of as like a romantic partner, but it can also be a family member as well.
Oh, I had not thought of that.
Yeah.
It could be like father, brother, or something
yes.
along those
lines. Or son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Wow. Epidemic. Boy, it seems like such a strong word. You know, we've just gone through the pandemic, and so we kind of know what an epidemic is. Why are they using that terminology now?
I think if we look at the numbers, like in Ontario, from November 25th of last year to November 25th of this year, in 52 weeks, we've had 62 women and children murdered.
And that's in
Ontario.
In Ontario.
That's in our province. If we look at across Canada, it's every 48 hours that women are being murdered. So that's why it's an epidemic.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're from Interval House.
Yes.
And this is a place where women can go when they need to escape this kind of situation. Mm-hmm. And are you seeing the uptick?
Absolutely. We have an emergency shelter as well as second stage housing and counseling programs, and we're pretty much full almost all the time. If we aren't, it's for a very short period of time. Last year we had 1,275 crisis calls coming in. So yeah, our numbers are definitely up there.
But what do? You only have so many bedrooms. What do you do?
We just try to make sure that we work with the women to see if we can find another safe place. There's other shelters in other communities. Sometimes they have a family member they can stay with. Sometimes we can shift people around and try and make it work. Do lots of safety planning to make sure that we try and keep everybody safe.
If a woman out there is watching this and thinks, you know, this is me, and I've got to do something, what should she be doing before leaving? What things should you be putting in place? I
think that in both of our programs, because Deirdre works at Resolve as well as Kingston Interval House, we do a lot of safety planning. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to talk to an expert. Call our number, call Resolve, speak to a counselor, get some safety planning done, because we know that it can be the most dangerous time is when a woman's trying to leave.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Leigh, take me back to December 6th. It was 1989, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, take me back to that day.
So 35 years ago, December 6, 1989, in Montreal, a gunman went into the university there and specifically centered out women and killed 14 women.
They were in engineering.
Engineering department, yeah. specifically because they were women. So it's called the Montreal Massacre. And like I said, 35 years ago, it's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
But we want to recognize that it's still happening, unfortunately. And so in 1991, the government deemed it the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. And so we always hold a vigil every year to honor those 14 women that were murdered in Montreal, as well as local women that have lost their lives to gender-based violence.
What I remember at the time was they tried to say, well, it was a one-off. It was one unstable young man who decided to do this, but it started a larger conversation.
Yep.
And that's when they started to talk about, well, wait a minute, it isn't just that one incident.
Mm-hmm.
It's going on. And nobody really thought about it before that. This was the turning point.
Yeah. If you look at the Toronto van attacks, if you look at what happened in Nova Scotia,
That's right.
it's all based on gender-based violence.
Yeah, yeah. So every year you acknowledge December 6th being the day. So what's going on this year?
Yeah, so we're working together collaborating with a number of community agencies. So not only Kingston Interval House and Resolve, but the Sexual Assault Center Kingston, Trellis, as well as the library. And we're holding our vigil at the downtown library location this year. You can come at 4 o'clock, the doors open so people can come, grab a snack, meet with people, mix and mingle and talk. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll start the event. We have the Caledonias singing from Queen's University. We have an indigenous hand drummers coming, and then we'll hold a rose ceremony. So we honor the 14 women killed in Montreal, as well as all the local women that have been murdered in our area. So we'll be able to say their name and something about them so that we remember the women and not the circumstances of what happened to them. And then we are gonna make our way outside across the street and have a candlelight vigil afterwards.
Okay, okay. We keep thinking that it's just men who are the perpetrators, but it could be women, couldn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I just thought of that. I don't know why it didn't occur to me before. But it could be a woman who is violent toward another woman.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I mean, because we often are thinking about it in more of like the heterosexual relationships.
Exactly, but
it happens in all relationships.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm thinking a mother-in-law could be the one who, in some cultures, she could very well. So it's not like we're anti-male on this thing. This is violence
No.
against women, no matter where it's coming from.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from the other point of view, from the other side, so you say this is what women should do if they're planning to leave, the safety and, you know, make these plans. But what about working with men who are doing this? What's going on there?
Well, there's different programs. Like there's the Partner Abuse Response Program that where it's looking at how to recognize and take responsibility for actions and that sort of thing. It goes through if it's gone through the criminal court system, right? Unfortunately, that is one of the barriers to assisting. One of the programs that Resolve is able to provide due to a private sponsor of the program is Healthy Relationships for Young Men. So,
that's a good
that
idea.
so that is something that we're developing right now. We've had a little bit of a hiatus with it just because of funding, unfortunately, but it is something that we're bringing forward as well in 2025.
And it seems that it used to be men weren't really prosecuted. They somehow it just never quite got through to the court system. Is that changed?
I'd like to say yes, but I think that it's still a work in progress. To be quite honest, I don't think there's still so many incidents where it's not actually brought forward. Even though any stats that we have are those that are coming forward to either medical professionals or to the police. But for everyone that we have, we know that there's many more that don't actually come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, women don't have to be the one to bring charges anymore. Isn't that the way it used to be?
Yeah, it's up to the police
You know, it's
whether or
up to
not
the
they
police.
lay charges.
Are they inclined to?
I think if they feel that there's a reasonable grounds, then they will. Yeah,
Yeah? Well,
yeah.
which is a step up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reasonable grounds for criminal act. Yeah.
Okay. So in 35 years, is it getting better? Is it getting, what's your take on this?
I like to hope that it's getting better, but it's really hard. Like, we're looking at the 16 days of activism to end gender-based violence, which we're posting on social media, and we're looking at what's sort of happening around the world. And it does make you wonder how far we've come when you start to see what's happening to women in Sudan and women in India and around the world, even in the US, right? Like, so it's, I'm hopeful that we're making strides. I do feel like we're making a lot of strides here in Kingston. I feel like we collaborate a lot with other agencies and we're working really well with the city. So I'm hopeful for the future.
Yeah. I mean, I think that awareness of the issue is really what's going to bring that forward, right?
Okay.
But when we also are looking at the fact that in the past year there were 62 women who lost their lives in Ontario, and those numbers have over the past few years been going up, right? So
that's so.
really. I think that we need to be looking at more awareness of it, that it is happening, recognizing when people that we know might be giving little hints that something isn't right in their relationships, and things like that's actually where it's not going to just be a day where it's completely eliminated without having that awareness.
Okay. Well, I've learned a few things today, and I do thank you for coming in. Tell me one more time, December 6th, where and what time?
Yeah, so Friday, December 6th, the doors will open at 4 o'clock. The event will start at 5 at the downtown library. It's free for everybody. If you can register, just because we are limited on the number of people that can go, and I think it'll be a really powerful event.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.